Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking something that's, well, it's profoundly emotional. It's the psychology of the invisible child. Now, this isn't just some abstract, dusty academic theory. For so many people, this is a lived experience that they carry with them their entire lives, often without ever really having the vocabulary to name it. But today, we're going to give it a name. Take a look at this phrase right here. When you were never the problem. If you've ever felt completely unseen or overlooked, or maybe pushed to the absolute margins of your own family growing up, let me tell you, this single sentence holds an absolute universe of relief. It's a bold, definitive claim for sure, and we're going to break down exactly why it represents a foundational psychological truth. All right, section 1, the invisible child, deconstructing invisibility. Let's get into it. So by definition, the invisible child is this psychological state of being emotionally unseen, or just totally overlooked, right within your own formative environment. Now, obviously, this isn't a physical trait. It's not like the kid magically turns transparent. Think of it more like, imagine a family dinner table. The child is physically sitting right there, right? But their thoughts, their feelings, their needs, they're constantly talked over, dismissed, or just flat out ignored. The environment fundamentally fails to perceive them on an emotional level. They are looked at, sure, but they are not truly seen. Invisible. Just let the sheer isolating weight of that single word sit with you for a second. Try to imagine existing, feeling things deeply, needing connection like we all do. And yet, to the very people who are supposed to anchor you to reality, you simply aren't there. That is the agonizing baseline we're working from. Moving on to part 2, internalizing the blame, the burden. Here's the really tricky part. When a child is treated as invisible, they don't exactly have the cognitive tools to sit back, objectively analyze the situation, and blame their parents. I mean, kids don't just brush that stuff off. Instead, they completely internalize it. The child's perspective literally becomes, I am broken, and that's why I'm unseen. Because, if the adults aren't looking, the child's raw, developing logic dictates they must not be worth looking at in the first place. But actually, scratch that. The psychological reality is vastly different. The reality is that the environment was broken. The child unknowingly absorbs the severe dysfunction of their surroundings, and tragically, they essentially wear it as a personal flaw. Which brings us to part 3, never the problem, the paradigm shift. So this whole paradigm shift really comes down to 3 crucial, honestly life-changing realizations. First up, a fundamental problem absolutely did exist. Acknowledging this doesn't deny the pain of the past or pretend your environment was perfect. Not at all. It actually validates that things were deeply wrong. Second, as a highly vulnerable kid, you absorbed the blame for all that dysfunction. That right there is the core mechanism of how the invisibility takes root. But finally, and pay attention because this is the most important part, that blame was completely misplaced. Yes, the problem was very real, but the culprit was always the environment. It was never the child. The absolutely crucial takeaway here is the absolute, uncompromising nature of this one single word, never. You weren't rarely the problem. You weren't sometimes the problem, or, only the problem when you made a mistake. The definitive psychological truth is that you absolutely, unequivocally never were. It wasn't that you failed to be visible. It's that the environment simply failed to open its eyes to see you. And that leads us to our final section, part 4, a new psychological reality. Which leaves us with this deeply provocative question to wrap up our explainer today. Who could you become now that you know you were never the problem? Think about it. If you strip away all that deeply misplaced blame, and you finally step out of that invisibility imposed on you by a completely broken environment, well, who is underneath all of that? I really want you to take that validation and let it completely reframe your potential moving forward.